You just put on your new favorite pair of jeans that you bought at the store. They fit you just right, you love them. They're a little bit pricey, but you still love them. You want to step outside and show off these new jeans because they make your butt look really good. You go to put your phone in your pocket only to realize that they're sewn shut. Today I'm going to try to persuade you guys on not only why the fashion industry should start adding more functional pockets to women's clothing, but also why you should care in the first place. Obviously, I'm a girl. I have a lot of pair of jeans that have pockets that are completely non-existent or just too small in general. I've also always been a pretty big advocate for women's rights issues, and although pockets are the most petty of issues, women's rights issues, it still has some validity behind it. So obviously it's a small problem on the scale of urgency, but when you look at its patriarchal history, it really does have some significance. It's also a financial burden when you start to look at the cost of having to accommodate for pockets, such as buying purses and bags. And finally, at the end of the day, this isn't just a women's issue, it's also an issue for men because of little inconveniences for them, as well as changing societal standards. So, first let's look at the patriarchy of the pocket. Patriarchy has always been prevalent in American history, but less politically obvious ideas stem from women's fashion. According to a book by Natasha Zana titled History of Women's Fashion, women have worn skirts and dresses for centuries that have been as elegant as the hoop skirt to about as daring as the poodle skirt. It wasn't until the 1920s that women started to step out and wear trousers and pants, and even today, both men and women will step out in bold fashion statements such as these that go back to the internet's favorites, such as clear plastic jeans, or whatever these are. So, despite bold fashion statements being made, the fashion industry is still getting one thing wrong when it comes to fashion. When you look at the structure of men's jeans versus women's jeans, they're pretty similar except for the one distinct issue of pockets. So women's jeans, the pockets aren't even big enough to hold something as small as chapstick, much less more important commodities such as your smartphone or debit cards. And although, and the most absurd one that you tend to see are the ones that have pockets that are just completely sewn on and don't have any functionality. It's often noted that the reason for this design flaw is actually for the fact that women's jeans have a tighter fit to them, and so the bulk of a pocket would ruin that look. Other ideas that stem from this article that I found on The Atlantic titled The Gender Politics of Pockets, where it said that some designers have deemed pockets too ugly for clothing, while others simply don't think women need them. And these decisions have created a chasm in women's fashion and holding women back. Obviously, men aren't marketed towards a tighter fit, so they don't need that kind of they can have bigger and deeper pockets, and this inefficiency promotes the idea that women always have to justify their figure, which is also just wrong in a lot of ways. But there's always been deep-rooted sexism in women's clothing, and the claim that pockets are part of this may seem kind of ludicrous at first, but when you compare it to the structure of men's jeans, it really isn't all that far-fetched. So now that we've talked about the societal issues behind not having big enough pockets, we can talk about the financial burden behind it. Women today obviously wear pants, but they still continue to carry purses and bags. And they can get pretty expensive, which is just another way for the fashion industry to profit off of the patriarchy. So this is kind of never mind. According to an article from the Women's Museum of California titled The History of the Handbag, early pockets for women were actually a whole separate piece that had to be tied around their waist under a skirt. And it just started to become tighter and more fitting to the body. Those became bulky and out of style, and so then the handbag was created to make up for the fact that those went out of style. It was the first feminist of these days that advocated for sewing pockets onto clothing so that you wouldn't have to carry around a purse because it wasn't as practical to them. Even today, there is women's pockets aren't big enough to hold things in their pockets, so you have to have a purse or a bag to accommodate to that. This is kind of an extreme example, but this is the most expensive purse of 2018. It cost $3.8 million because it's made of diamonds. And like I said, it is kind of extreme, but when you think about it, it's really not. Not only is it extremely expensive, but it's also really ugly. And it's small and not very functional, just like a women's pocket today, so what's the point of even having it in the first place? So obviously, it's simply just not functional. So purchases like these and others simply aren't functional. But instead of accommodating to the issues today, the fashion industry continues to sell impractical pockets for the purpose of making more money off of women through the combined purchase of both jeans and a purse. So purses aren't the only cause of this issue, but it does really impact the amount of money that women have to spend for efficiency. So if money issues aren't enough to make this a universal issue, I'm going to explain to you just how universal it really can be. While initially thought of as a problem just for women, this actually goes towards men too, because of the growing issue that gender and clothing shouldn't have any sort of association because you can wear whatever you want. And women's clothes are obviously marketed towards women, but men still wear them anyway. And so there are some men out there that will wear women's jeans and they are tighter and don't have a big enough pocket, and so it becomes an issue for them as well. But I understand this isn't a recognizable cause for the fashion industry to change this, just because gender is still pretty controversial today, and so there are some more traditional reasons why this is an issue for men. One of them is simply just the idea that whenever you have a shared household income with your spouse, that you may have to worry about the financial burden that comes along with it, that I mentioned earlier, that has to go with purses and bags and all that kind of stuff. And also it goes just to be simple as like if you have a woman in your life and she wants you to carry something for her, she doesn't have pockets, you have to deal with that too. So, to kind of sum up what I've said, overall today, women have had to fight, the patriarchal issues in the speech are the most prominent, and women have had to fight for equality for years, and although small, both literally and figuratively, pockets fall under this category. Finally, it comes at the cost of the consumer when they have to purchase things like bags and purses, and it's a problem for everyone, therefore everybody should care. So I urge you all to advocate for a change in the fashion industry with big enough pockets and all that. And by myself, I only have a voice that's big enough to fit in my pocket, but as a collective, we can come together to change